Welcome to Create at Home Recycled Paper Coasters and Trivets. For this project, you'll need a few simple things that you'll probably have around the house. You can use magazines or newspaper. You'll need a glue stick, but if you don't have that, you can also just use the white glue. You definitely need white glue or some kind of glue that dries clear. Then you need something to roll the paper with, like a thin wooden skewer or the bottom part of a trimmed wire coat hanger, which is what I used and really liked. And I've also seen people use spaghetti noodles, dry ones, of course. Then you'll need a flat, hard surface to work on and one that you can get messy. An option is to have a little bit of water on the side because it helps with turning the pages. So an overview of the process is that you'll be rolling paper into what I just decided to call canes out of magazines or newspaper pages. Then you'll spiral them into a coaster or a trivet, and you can also make basket shapes. You'll then brush glue over the entire surface to seal. I believe this project would be best for middle school age and up because it requires your hands to be kind of dexterous and strong, have a little bit of strength to them. So for paper, you'll need a magazine or newspaper. You can use other kinds of paper, you just don't want it to be too thick. For magazines, it's a good way to start to just tear out single pages, and a small piece is easy to learn with. Then if you want your coaster to have a lot of color, you'll want to look for pages that have the color all the way out to the edge. That's the easiest way. I'll explain what you can do if you don't have that in just a moment. The white borders, even though it looks like it's just a very small amount, once it gets rolled, the white will just take over everything and you'll barely see any color. Imperfect edges when you tear it out of the magazine, or if you have a rumpled old magazine like I did, that won't matter at all. The cover of the magazine will probably be too thick, so don't use that. Okay, here's a tip for getting rid of those white borders. You can just trim off two sides of the borders and then you can flip the piece over. You might want to make a mark on the part that you want to show and then start rolling from the back, and then you'll end up with a colorful piece like you see here on the right rather than a mostly white piece. Next up is a video I made of how to roll the canes. Okay, now you can start spiraling the canes. So you can use your skewer or the end of a paintbrush or something like that to start coiling. You only have to apply glue at the end of your cane. So that was kind of a surprise to me. I thought the whole thing would be glued together right from the start. You'll want to choose one side to be your top side and periodically place the piece down, face down on the tabletop and kind of press it so it stays level. This will make sure one side is flat. Next up is a video of how to handle the piece as you're doing the spiraling. Okay, so then you can just keep adding on to make the disc larger and larger. Now, as it gets bigger, it gets harder to handle. So instead of holding it in your hand to coil, it seems to help to lay it flat down on the tabletop and coil the pieces on right on the table. If you pick it up, you're in danger of having the whole thing pop apart. And you might want to stop after you've put on 5 or 6 canes and just rubber band it together for a little while and then coat the back side with glue. That way it will be really nice and sturdy for when you want to add on again. It really helps to do this. You can add on to canes to make them twice as long by gluing them together. You can put one inside the other and then you'll have longer canes that will make it all the way around. Once your disc gets large enough, your shorter ones won't make it. This way you can go further and you can even add on as you're going along, as you'll see in the photo on the right hand side. Okay, you're almost done. When you're finished with your canes, flip your piece over so it's face down and put glue all over the whole back. Before it dries though, if you take a marker or some other object like that and push it down to the tabletop one more time to make sure you have one good flat side, because the back might be really uneven, all of mine were, but at least your front side will be nice and flat and look really nice. You should coat the front of the piece as well later on after the back is dry, and you can use the glue for that as well. But if you have some matte finish around the house, that to me looks a little bit better. It's not quite so shiny. If you enjoyed this, there are lots of other projects out there. If you just do a search for rolled paper crafts, you'll find many more projects than you'll ever have time to do. You can make a bowl or a basket by folding the paper instead of rolling it and then sort of telescoping it out before you glue it. You can also create a woven basket by creating a framework like this basket in the photo shows. I hope you enjoyed this project and we thank you for creating with the Everett Public Library.